Hello, this is Linda of Christ is King Forever. I wanted to do a quick video about, first of all, I have a tutorial at the end of this. It's unofficial. It's for the Gospels, which is by Dr. Peterson. There is a theme music in the background of their video, of their show, and I really like it. So hopefully that is actually the right notes, but we shall see. I hope there's an official music sheet or YouTube that comes out that shows how to play this on the piano. It's very good. Anyhow, I wanted to do a quick video about the rocks crying out and how Jesus was coming down from the mountain on a donkey, and everybody praised him as king. And the high priest said to him, "Why do you allow people to do this?" He said, "If they were quiet, surely the rocks would cry out." It's just like the Ark of the Covenant going town to town after being conquered. You know, the Jewish folks got the Ark of the Covenant taken away from them. And then it went town to town in front of Dagon, and every day this statue kept falling, but finally the hands and the head fell off the statue. And then they were like, "Oh my gosh, this is crazy. This is very supernatural. We cannot." And then they threw a bunch of gold on the cart. They put an ox to it, and it went to a different town and did the same thing to all the idols. This is what the Holy Spirit does. And then finally, the ox made its way back to the rightful owners, which is, the Jews at that time. Um, So the Holy Spirit does this. It is like, Dagon was made of stone and people bowed to Dagon. Well, the Ark of the Covenant did not. It was, gold plated, and uh, it was solid. Anything that goes against it breaks. And that's what, to me, even the rocks that cry out really symbolizes, is that there's a concept and a truth and a formula that we cannot see, cannot put our ideas or words to, and I don't think we're supposed to. That's so still, immovable, unshakable, solid, that all forms of reality that go against it break. Just like the Christians waking up recently. I'm hoping. I'm hoping officially. I'm hoping that we don't go back to being apathetic, but I do feel like the gender ideology is being seriously challenged. The orientation type stuff is being challenged. A lot of uh, relativism, leftist concepts are being destroyed. And I think it's the truth that's destroying that. And it's just like if you bake a pie and it says a dash, but you put a dish of salt in the pie and you put it in the oven and it comes out and it's salty. Same thing. Concepts like we can do as we wish, we do what's right in our own eyes because there's no judges among us, will absolutely destroy societies. And that's what that truth is. And you see, every time you put this formula, this Ark of the Covenant, in any place you put it, it ends up destroying everything around it. That's not the truth. It is the rocks crying out, right? So there's, Dr. Peterson's channel where they have the Gospels, a bunch of smart, educated people sitting around tables. They go, "I see this works. I just can't tell you what the formula is. I can't put my ideas around what I see." And they're like, "Oh, if you walk into a place with a bunch of uh, physicists," one of the guys said, "and you were to try to say these very fluffy words like love, compassion, they look at you and say, 'That's nice,' and then they kind of go on." And he's not wrong. It's almost like because you can't speak the physicist language, they don't really take what you have to say seriously. And the same thing goes for if God were to download into you the exact words, terminology, and put the formula on um, a blackboard, those physicists would scratch their head and go, I really don't I don't understand what this is. This isn't what we've been taught. We've not studied this. There's no book where I've seen this." But that's directly from God with the very formula that is the truth, that is the rocks crying out. That means the reality has to bow to whatever God's saying. Very simple concepts like the Ten Commandments, they work. They work. And the other thing is, I saw that. Can I just finish that thought first? Just because you can't put it on a blackboard, first of all, even if you did, you'll never convince any of these educated folks. When I say educated, I mean the physicists, that this is the truth. They'll never be convinced because their professors didn't say so. They themselves didn't find this themselves. So because I didn't find it as a smart person, then therefore it's not true. Because I can't do the math, therefore it's not true. Therefore I can't really believe it. Maybe these concepts are above our minds. I'm very comfortable with physicists being smarter and be able to do formulas I don't understand. And maybe that's part of the being the fool. It's like you're like, when God's like, I have ideas that are greater than you. I'm like, you sure do. You sure do. But I think when people get really comfortable being the smartest person in the room, they have a really hard time understanding that if you see and observe these things are working, just because you yourself haven't discovered the math, which is why a lot of scientists of old were able to do things like Newton and maybe even Einstein and people who were really leaning on God, and saying, "Hey, this is intelligent design. This looks like it came from a type of intelligence. There's some way I can orchestrate something I can put on paper so that other people can see there's something here working. Invisible string, like gravity, a word to it. I can give a concept to it. And these are really good things to do because it helps us kind of understand our reality better. But it also stopped pointing to God, and it became the scientists themselves became God because they discovered it. They put it on a piece of paper, and it makes sense to them, even though it doesn't really it's not applicable to regular humans anymore. It's something that they among themselves can talk about and feel good about, but it doesn't really apply to us. What I'm trying to say here is you see how when it goes into society, the math works, right? That should be enough for you to say, if it works everywhere, it must be God. And Dennis Prager saying Christians have been a very good vehicle for bringing the Torah to the world. I know the Torah is Jesus Christ. He's the living physical Torah walking around talking to people. I know pastors don't like that reference because they think it sounds ridiculous, but it is true. I mean, if you want to know what the Torah says and you want to challenge the Torah, this person's like the AI of the Torah. Okay, he is the Torah anyway. And Prager said this is really good. Christians have definitely brought this out into the open and accessible to people. If we were to have isolated and kept it to ourselves, society would not have benefited. And I do think the cycle of, especially persecution of Jewish people would have been continued a lot more frequently. And I don't know if there would be Jewish people here. I do think it's part of God's plan of working all things for the good that are called to his purpose, to bring the Jewish people back to him through Jesus Christ. And the Christians are there to be that buffer zone. This is my belief. And what Prager said, even though Christians themselves are not always the grace people, they're just human, Jesus came down into Jerusalem on a donkey. It's been the theme. Like, we are definitely the donkey. We are the donkey jaw in the hand of Samson, meaning God, the strong man who is God. So, yes, we're not supposed to be greater than our God or equal to our God. Yes, we strive to be holy, we strive to be good, but we're always going to be wrestling with our flesh, while the Holy Spirit, I think, is the one who's actually wrestling us, and if I can be honest. Uh, and yeah, at the end of this, we're going to walk with a limp, and we're going to be given a new name. And it's not Israel, because Israel's a totally different entity. Like, they're a group of people that I believe we're supposed to help, return the favor, who kept the traditions and the ways of God. We're to return the favor by bringing them their Messiah, which is Jesus Christ. This is my opinion. It's something that's very biblical, and I can see that it actually works. It's something that when you put it, to physical, when it's actually applied, physical action, it just keeps doing the same thing over and over again, and you can't even expect a different outcome because it always does the same thing. It's always true, it's always faithful, it's always um, what God said it would be, what his word is, what it brings to the world: light, truth, um, the way of life. That's the best. So may the Lord keep you and bless you and shine his face upon you and grant you peace. I hope that you have had a happy holiday. I hope Christmas is great and you stay safe. This is Linda of Christ is King Forever. May God be with you.
Surprisingly and notoriously, I received an email, a very strange email.